They dropped the ball so hard on Red Dead Online. So I guess that was strike number one. Strike number two, GTA Online Definitive Edition. And this is looking like a big strike number three. You're out. Take two. What's up and welcome back, and yeah, I'm only like 6 months late on updating this series, but better late than never. We're going to be going over the top of the week on r/gaming. And first up, we have POV. My wife, who doesn't like games, has played Baldur's Gate 3 for 9 straight hours today. Drinking a little wine in hour 9. Sounds like a good day, actually. I am so on the fence about this game. I'd really like to get it. I've not played, previous games or really anything quite like this. It looks like a really good translation of like D&D, and I've always wanted to play a tabletop campaign. Just we'll never get the people in a room to do it. But I am also already trying to drag my wife into it. There's supposed to be a way where you can play over a LAN connection, 2 people on 1 copy of the game, which as opposed to sitting there doing co-op side by side, I'd rather do that than do split screen. I'm not really here to dig into news articles, so I'll just read the headline at least. Larian's boss worried Baldur's Gate 3 had peaked in early access, so its massive 800,000 concurrent player launch was way beyond expectations. I thought this game had came out a while back, but I wasn't hearing anything about it, and to find out that it was in early access for like a year or more kind of surprised me. I guess a good chunk of the game was available before, but not the ending. So a lot of people who are doing reviews still have to put a lot of time into it to finish the review. I read somewhere that there are like 17,000 endings to this game. It sounds insane. I feel like getting in on this is like getting in on Skyrim at the beginning. Gotta do it. It's just a game. We got Red Dead, Last of Us, Witcher, and what was that one called? Ghosts of Tsushima, I assume that is. They do be making you feel things sometimes. Yeah, this is the kind of thing I guess I'll get later. It says, really? And difficulty class 2, critical failure. They rolled a 1 on this dice with, 20 sides to it? I assumed that meant they needed to get a 2 or higher for this to work out, but they got the one number they couldn't get, the no-no number. Titanfall 3 was in development for 10 months before it was canceled and turned into Apex Legends. I did a lot of research into this for a GameFAQs video, and I don't know that this headline here is exactly true. But I think they had more of a battle royale sort of game in mind from the start. But the developers said that they couldn't quite figure out how to put the Titans in there and still have a balanced game. I will be salty for the rest of my life that EA did this to Titanfall 2, launching it, competing with themselves on the same weekend as Battlefield 1. Everybody knew Battlefield 1 was going to be a banger, and everybody was going to put their money into it immediately. There's some idiotic quote from the person in charge over at EA that said, like, well, we think there are Battlefield players, and we think there are Titanfall players, and there's not a lot of overlap there. Stupid, ridiculous shit. They cannibalized Titanfall 2 for whatever reason. Titanfall 1 and 2 are fantastic, and I talk about them all the time. I sing their praises. And it really bugs me that we may never see another fully fledged Titanfall game because of that stupid ass decision. Red Dead Redemption port flooded with dislikes on YouTube. Where to even start with this whole thing? I know we're going to end up talking about this on Gaming News Weekly. That's the weekly podcast with E-Rock the Red and myself going over the week's top gaming news. So I've been formulating some thoughts, getting ready for that discussion. I'll just give the short and narrow of it right now. Growing up, I always thought Rockstar Games was like the pinnacle of game developers. But ever since GTA 5, it has just been a cash grab. And I don't know how much is Rockstar, I don't know how much is their parent company Take-Two, but I'm sick of it. I think a lot of people are. They dropped the ball so hard on Red Dead Online after making a masterpiece of a single-player game. They could have had the next GTA Online, but if that didn't directly translate into that money up front, seems they didn't really care. If you don't build it, people won't go play it. That's the problem. So I guess that was strike number 1. Strike number 2, GTA Online Definitive Edition. That monstrosity. And this is looking like a big strike number 3. You're out. Take 2. I still think there's hope for Grand Theft Auto 6. Surely they wouldn't screw up like the big one. The one they really need to get. The one in a decade game they need to hit everything on. They've been consistently good at least that. But I hope I'm not sitting here a year or 2 years from now talking about how badly they botched the next version of GTA Online or the roll into that or something. Because who knows? How can we pinch more pennies out of the consumer? Baldur's Gate 3, no launch content DLC, no online connection required, no egregious pre-order DLC, no content locked behind paywalls. This is how gaming should be done. And even without playing this game, I agree. And I think the reason is because it is such a large game, it is so fleshed out that you don't need all of that other stuff. I think a lot of other games can benefit from having other things. I guess the ultimate hope is when they do have DLC, pre-order DLC, a bunch of junk you can buy later, that money is going to fund them making a better overall experience or making the next game, making more of what you like. I know Larian Studios has already come out and said that their next venture is going to have a much smaller scope than Baldur's Gate 3, and I understand that. This game, I'm thinking, is going to be around for like a decade, that people are going to be playing it, talking about it, modding it, doing whatever. I don't know how far that initial like $60 price tag everybody just paid, and will continue to pay. I don't know how much funding that's going to do realistically for a studio that can make games of this scope. The classic Laura Christ advert that certain folk didn't like, okay? I guess I understand why. Purely coincidentally, I was looking through all these scanned and uploaded old gaming magazines today, just checking out some of the ads and stuff, and it was right in that era of the PlayStation 1, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Some really interesting stuff in there, like, I don't know why, but a Heinz tomato ketchup advert that was like, it was trying to be like cool and advertised to the kids in a gaming magazine, be like grungy, I guess. Square Enix asked me to cut up my mouse pad for a replacement. For some reason, not safe for work when this guy had a really cool, like flexing arm that he cut out of this. Now, I mean, the reason they do that is to make sure it's destroyed so that you're not just scamming them out of one. But it does kind of suck that we're expected to just like completely trash something that wasn't completely trash. Could have sent that back and they could have done whatever with it, I guess. But it's cool. It's progress on our landfill speed run. Don't you hate the phrase, this game gets good after ... Talking about Final Fantasy 13, Persona 4, I don't know or care about all that. I guess it depends on who's telling me that and how good the game actually ends up being. I've had to tell a lot of people who I try to get into Red Dead Redemption 2 story mode, this game definitely gets a lot better after the snow. It's so slow for people who are... When you say that the game is slow, you don't think that it literally means you're walking through 3 feet of snow, and so you are slow. It's like the first hour or two of the game, you're walking through quicksand or something. But a lot of games today are so competitive based, like getting into Fortnite or Apex or any of those. Like, you're going to spend a lot more time trying to get good at those games so that you can actually hold your own in a match. It puts this to shame, spending an hour or 2 in the snow going slow. I don't care if it starts out slow or boring or something, as long as the payoff is there. $50 is okay for Red Dead Redemption because it'll finally be playable on a portable device. Or what did the CEO say? Take-Two CEO says that Red Dead Redemption port is commercially accurate. Okay. In the time machine land of 10 years ago. At 13 years of age, I feel like you should be able to emulate a game. Copyright laws surviving as long as they do on all other forms of media is bullshit in itself. I think there needs to be a change when it comes to emulation and gaming. Rockstar and Take-Two had all the time in the world to make this happen when it actually mattered, but it's the same damn game that they released 13 years ago now. If they wanted to do a remake or remaster, I would say, let people at it. They'll pay that. Let people pay for the added work, the added value that was put into that game. But at a certain point, I think it's fair that people be able to emulate the older titles. Older titles that realistically, unless you're Rockstar pulling a genius move like this, most developers are not going to make money on a 15-year-old game. They don't even have a way for you to buy it in most cases. Rockstar hates me for this one simple trick. Yeah, holding on to the originals. You're probably going to pay up if you go to a vintage game store to buy these in this day and age, but it's a hell of a lot less than $50 in most cases. You get lucky, you might go to a flea market and find it for $5 or less. I think the harder part to maintain is keeping the original hardware to play it. Back to my point on emulation there. The PlayStation can produce mind-boggling effects from EGM in 1994. Yeah, there's some mind-boggling effects. It's funny looking through those old magazines, I swear, because you'll see a whole page dedicated to some game, and you'll remember it a lot better than it looked. And even in print, it's hard to look at. My favorite shot of a recent modded Fallout 4 playthrough. I didn't know they had my Cyberpunk character in Fallout. That's pretty cool. Made Bowser out of pipe cleaners. Oh, I like that. I think you need to make Mario out of pipe cleaners though, because then there's like the double meaning. Not in an 18+ way, to be clear. Like he's a plumber. Maybe that's what Nintendo always had in mind. One good thing about the game coming to Switch is that Switch emulators run better than Xbox 360 or PS3 emulators. Small studio making a $40 remake. I forget the name of that, but we've talked about it on the podcast. One of the biggest game studios making a $50 remake. Well, it's not a remake, it's just a port. But yeah, $50 for a port is still ridiculous. Maybe this is partially why there's going to be a digital copy exclusively, I'm pretty sure, and then it'll be like a month or two later that a hard copy comes out. Please check in on your local RPG players if you haven't heard from them in a while, I guess. Diablo 4, Baldur's Gate 3, and then Starfield just about to come out. I really want to get Starfield too. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 has kind of overshadowed people's hype for Starfield. The problem already is that there's too damn much to play sometimes. I don't know about Diablo 4. You're probably technically dependent on their servers, so if those shut down someday, you're going to lose access to the always online game, unless they patch it out, which they probably won't. Don't know about Baldur's Gate 3. I'm pretty sure you don't ever need to connect to the internet again, and you can play that game just fine. And Starfield, I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work either. Presumably, at least for Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield, if you can't get them right now, they're going to be just as good if you wait until a sale, at least, or a couple years down the line. As a game dev, I honestly have to ask this sub, what the hell is it you think we do? After scrolling past a third meme about how Baldur's Gate should terrify me as a dev, because it doesn't have microtransactions, and some rather bizarre fan fiction on the Diablo forums about how much control we actually have, I'm now curious. Actually genuinely curious from just any gamer, and would love to know what exactly do you think devs do? How much power we have over decisions, our day-to-day, etc. Well, I think that completely depends on the company. Smaller studios with fewer people, probably the devs have a lot more power. We're talking individual devs. And then there's still like project leaders and everything else. Larger studios, I would say that most of the decisions are made higher up. When people are criticizing these devs, especially if you're scrolling past a meme that says it should terrify the devs, I think they're talking about development studios, not individual developers. Nobody expects the guy at his desk who's, making not enough money for what they do and the crunch is unreal. I don't think anybody expects them to be making the big decisions. And scrolling down through here, I think that's the general thing. This person says the whole Baldur's Gate 3 terrifies devs thing is because of a couple tweets that people took to mean the whole industry is quaking in their boots just because Larian made a good game. It also means devs, as in the companies which make games, not the devs and individual software developers who work on games. Yeah, that's the point. This is a first for me, Penis C. So good to know how that's going to work. It's not like on a slider basis. Though I would have liked more customization in there. Roll for y'all. Clearing the loft out and found my childhood. This is the thing that I would kill to find at a yard sale, flea market, something like that. Somebody who will actually get rid of it cheap to have it out of the way. It's never going to happen though. I got my $5 PS4 and that's the lottery. I've won it. Not going to happen again in my lifetime. Christ, that's Vibrant. Eli Roth's Borderlands film set to hit theaters in August of 2024. We got Kate Blanchett. Can't even think of who that is. Kevin Hart, Jack Black back in it again. They were in Jumanji together. That could be interesting. Ariana Greenblatt, Florian Montigny, and Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay. That's about a year away from today. Hope it's good. We've had a little streak of decent game adaptations lately. Eli Roth, I recognize his face. Oh, he's the bear Jew in Inglourious Basterds. Was he in Saving Private Ryan possibly too? There's a little snippet there on his IMDb page I'll have to check out later. Looked like it was like a 3D animated kind of movie. Bought at a used game shop for $9 USD, and I feel like he might have even overpaid a little bit, but you could probably find it a little bit cheaper. But price is probably about to go up because everybody's in the mood to replay it. Anyone else play 90% of their PC games with a controller? Recently got a new PC and my wife gave me this really nice gaming keyboard for Christmas, and I do play some games like Valorant or Age of Empires with keyboard and mouse. But honestly, for most of my games, Fallout 4, Baldur's Gate 3, blah blah blah, I prefer to sit back comfortably with a controller. I even connected the PC to my TV for the past week. Bought a 3-meter USB-C cable. Treated the PC just like a console. Find that using keyboard and mouse for prolonged periods is extremely uncomfortable, especially after working a 9-hour office job every day. Oh yeah, I'm sure if you are already using the keyboard and mouse all day in that 9 hours, you're gonna get carpal tunnel like instantly. That was my big plan when, coming from being a console player to getting my first gaming PC that could really do something. I got a special case for it that I thought would be more compact and portable so I could take it to the living room. I thought I'd be doing it all the time. Playing games out there, sitting back on the couch, just treating it kind of like a console and then taking it back, recording videos and junk. But I've never actually done it once, for whatever reason. But I've got a good mix. I've got a PS4 controller, an Xbox One controller now, and keyboard and mouse. Just depends on the game. Call of Duty, 100% using keyboard and mouse for the aim. Red Dead, it's also a shooting game, but you're much better off with a controller. Plus, I have all the muscle memory from playing that on PS4 first. But you're a lot better off, I feel, if you can just lock on, flip up, get the headshot, than trying and waiting to aim with the keyboard and mouse. If I get like an arcadey game, it's a lot more fun to use a controller, I think. And sometimes the keyboard and mouse controls are so ridiculous, I don't want to have to remember them all. Like the AEW wrestling, much easier to use a controller and have everything sort of at your fingertips. Can't believe this game is 8 years old. Came back, experienced the game again, but with new refresh, and I'm stunned. I don't know what the new refresh is. I played this on PS4 when it was like 3 years old, and I could tell that it was dated at that point, graphically speaking. I'd been, probably spoiled with Battlefield 1 and whatever the newest Call of Duty that year was. But looking at this screenshot even, it's not quite there. I don't know. I just feel like a similar scene. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Online lately. If you were to set something like this up in that game, it would blow this out of the water. To be fair, Red Dead's like 6 years old at this point. This is that point we get to in every r/gaming review. Check out my latest project, 3D printed buff Pikmin, or as I like to call them, Pikmin. Yeah, you've done something there. Are these like anatomically correct though? Oh, but you could also use some translucent filament and make those new glow-in-the-dark guys. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, I'm sorry. This is that point in the r/gaming review. Well, I hope you had fun and learned something in this less of a toxic cesspool than usual review of r/gaming. I'll try to get the next one out sooner than 6 months from now, but a little bit of encouragement in the comments or sharing the video or whatever it is you want to do, letting me know you're actually watching, that would go a long way in motivating me to come out with the next one. So whatever it is you do, all the help as always is appreciated. Thanks.